Evil is back. The Drool King Lotor has returned with a dark energy that can destroy the galaxy. Our only hope? The Voltron Force, a team of 5 heroic pilots that control 5 awesome robot lions. When Lotor's monstrous road beasts attack, the lions come together to form Voltron, defender of the universe.
Oh, let's Voltron! Oh, let's Voltron! Oh, let's Voltron!
Welcome, Voltron fans. This is Marc Morell, your host for Let's Voltron, the official Voltron podcast. We're here for another exciting episode review from Voltron Force, and I have my co-host with me, Greg Tyler. Welcome, Greg.
Mark, it's great to see you again and to chat more about Voltron in all of its forms. And we have a special guest to help us do that tonight. Who's that?
Yes, I would like to introduce Elizabeth Cox, a big, huge Voltron fan extraordinaire, and has also attended VoltCon starting in 2021. Isn't that right, Elizabeth? Welcome.
It is. Thank you guys so much for having me. It is a huge honor to be on this podcast because you guys are awesome.
Oh, no, you are too. Honestly, it's been fun.
I know I'm awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's been great getting to know you and hang out with you and many other awesome people at VoltCon each year. And we're glad to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I was really excited about this. I was like, never seen this show. So I have a really looking forward to like talking about it.
Now, the show you're talking about is Voltron Force. You haven't seen that show, right?
No, I have not.
You have seen the podcast, right?
I have seen the podcast, but I have not seen the Voltron Force show. This is my first episode watching this series.
See, that'll be an interesting perspective because we usually get people here who have seen it, all the way through or seen all the episodes or stuff like that. So it'll be an interesting perspective to have when we've only had this as your only episode that you've ever seen. So that'll be cool.
Yeah. It's always interesting, sometimes it's kind of impossible to be completely objective about a show unless you're, if you're dropped into the middle and are all the pieces laid out well enough in a given episode for someone who starts right then and there to be able to piece it together and go with the flow. And this will be a fun way to find that out from you.
Oh yeah, it's a very interesting episode, and I'm really glad you guys picked this one because I'm a huge Pidge fan, so I absolutely love this episode.
Awesome. And I see you have a special friend down in the corner of the screen.
I do.
Okay.
Does this Stitches. I have the whole set.
Do you really?
I do. I have all the kitties.
Oh, wow.
Holy moly.
Wow.
So to those who are listening
I have all the kitties.
To those listening in without video through our normal podcast outlets, Liz has a very impressive collection of Voltron Lion plushies. And where did these come from? Did you make them? Did you buy them?
Yes, this is actually from Pidge's Stitches. They were at VoltCon and they had a lot of plushies, but Pidge's Stitches specifically hand sewn all of these cats. So all of them are different, but they handmade all of these.
Wow.
So yeah, they were on the table and they're in the dealer's hall and they're right by the door. So next time, everybody go check it out.
Right.
These are adorable. How can you say no to this face?
Didn't you also have one of the space mice as well?
Everyone who's watching this knows Cheeser Mouse. He's actually made by my niece, Sylvia. She does make custom, and she is available to make your own Cheeser Mouse of any color that you want. He's a prototype, so she actually has made them a lot smaller, but he's a very special little mouse. He's got his own little tail, and he's got made entirely of yarn. So she stuffs them and makes yarn. So he was a labor of love. So he's special.
Well, very special. I love that. It's very cute.
So we haven't gotten to know Elizabeth yet. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why are you such a big Voltron fan?
Because it's awesome. I mean, there's just no other word to describe that, guys. It's just awesome. um, this is will be my third year coming to VoltCon in 2023. My first year was 2021. My sister and I both came. I got to know Eric before then, and he said, "You guys got to come." And my sister's like, "Yeah, come with me." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then I was like, "Oh, right, Voltron. I loved that show, but I hadn't seen it for so long." And I talked to Greg and Eric, and they said, "You got to buy it and watch it." I'm like, "Okay." So I bought the whole series, and I bought Vehicle Voltron. So I watched both of them before I came to VoltCon. I had binged watched it in like 1 month. So I watched all those episodes in 1 month, so I could catch back up and go, "Oh yeah, that was so awesome! I love this show." Oh, I remember Pidge was my favorite, and I always remembered the kid with the glasses. And I'm like, he was riding the green line. Yeah, that was Pidge. That's who I loved. So, when we got there, I was so psyched because there was so many people who just loved the show, but loved all the different variances of it, because there was a legendary Voltron that came out, and I only briefly watched a little bit of that, so I'm only on season 3 for that, so I'm still catching up. But
okay,
I got to meet so many people, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is just come and join us," and it's a huge family con, and there's no other. It's a family reunion. There's just no other way to describe VoltCon. There's so many wonderful people, and you and Mark I met, and Greg was just like, "Hi, I don't know you, but what's your name?" It's like, "I'm sorry, were you here last year?" I'm like, "No, this is my first year." He goes, "Oh, thank goodness. I thought I didn't know your name." And I was just,
I'm horrible with names sometimes. It's embarrassing.
It's fine. I am too. Don't worry about it, Greg. But got to meet Savannah and Patrick, and Eric was my connection, and I love Marika. She's like the best mom of all time for our con. And I had such a blast that I immediately bought my my VIP pass before I left the con last year, and I was like, "Just tell me when we're coming, just tell me when, and I'm ready to go." So as soon as they had everything out, I was the first person to get my my room ready, and I put in my vacation time as soon as I could, and they told us the dates, and every year is even more magical than the last. So I'm looking forward to what 2023 has to offer. So I will have a new ribbon to display at VoltCon. So look forward to that.
Awesome.
Right.
And I wanted to thank you for sending the ribbons to me from this past VoltCon. So thank you.
You're welcome. I still have more if anyone still needs them. I still have plenty. I thought I had enough to give out, but I had more than I realized because not as many people they were expecting. So I still have plenty if you guys need more or know anyone who wants them.
Okay.
So I will be bringing those back. So I'll be passing those out to people I missed, like Archie. I didn't get Archie one. So I'll be passing those out. If just come up and go, "Hey, I want my Voltron ribbons."
Sounds awesome.
Okay, so as a result of seeing this episode review for Voltron Force Brains, does this mean you're going to go back and see the whole series?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to totally binge watch it. I think I'll start this coming Sunday after and watch the whole series. I'm really liking it. My favorite part, other than seeing some of Pidge's actual skill set, because I love the fact that they opened up and he had shurikens, and that's very important for ninjas because that was a weapon of choice for them. So I love that they've actually included that, and they come from the wristbands, which makes it very, very cool, and it's even more ninja-like. So I love that they included his original past in the storyline.
Nice, very nice, cool.
So,
Well,
yeah.
well, shall we jump in?
Yes, I think we shall.
Yeah, so this is the 16th episode of Voltron Force, production number 116, Brains. Originally aired November 17th, 2011. Time flies, my goodness. Directed as always by John Delaney, supervising director Stephen E. Gordon, story editor Todd Garfield, and the writer of this specific episode is Hans Radionov. I hope I'm getting his name correctly, and in fact, I might be misstating it. Hang on just a moment. It's Hans Rodionov. My apologies. And he is a screenwriter, a writer of comics, apparently a colleague of Adam F. Goldberg of the Goldbergs, and has written a bunch of stuff, but this is his only Voltron credit. So that's pretty interesting because Adam Goldberg had also written a Voltron Force episode earlier in the season. The cast, as always, we have Giles Panton as Keith, Andrew Francis as Lance, Ashley Ball as Allura, Sam Vincent as Pidge, Ty Olson as Hunk, Vincent Tong as Daniel, Doron Bell Jr. as Vince, Shannon Chan Kent as Larmina, and the guests for the episode, Mark Hildreth as Lotor, Ron Halder as Mayhawks, and in his one and only Voltron Force appearance, Gabe, I hope I am pronouncing his name correctly, Huth as Chip, who happens to have been the brother of Sam Vincent in the real world. And my understanding is that Gabe, unfortunately, has since passed away. So we want to thank Gabe for his small but very significant contribution to Voltron Force. Chip is an iconic character, so thanks for that.
Yep.
And
Yay!
that's right. And with that said, let's jump into Voltron Force Brains.
You know, when we do these episode reviews, we do have access to all the scripts from the show. And this script for Brains was a third draft that was written on August 12, 2010.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Greg did mention that. That is really cool.
Yeah, and there is a tag in the header of the script saying VO voiceover edits from 9/21/10. So apparently it's been updated a bit. It was updated a bit after that. So that's kind of cool. And thanks again to World Events Productions for making these scripts available for our review.
Yay! Thanks, guys.
So right off the bat, at the beginning of this episode, do you guys remember what you saw on the very first scene?
Yes. What did we see, Liz?
We saw Lotor looking really cool in his samurai outfit, and I'm going, wait, isn't that guy dead?
Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing. In this show, Lotor dies constantly and comes back. So,
He's kind of like Kenny.
So,
Mayhawk
so yeah.
says, oh my God, they killed Lotor.
Yeah, a little Hegarium treatment, and he's back. So, you know, it's something you have to get used to in Voltron Force.
Right.
Yeah.
But he does make an excellent villain, though. He has all of the makings of an excellent villain. He's got the charisma. He's got the brains. He's got an endless amounts of ambition. So he makes a very excellent villain in any type of form. So I can see why they keep bringing him back.
But specifically at the beginning, I was wondering if you could figure out where you were at the very beginning.
In like watching it, or just like
just watching. You know, there's a bunch of scientists in a computer lab and stuff like that. Could you tell where you were? You couldn't, right?
No, not at all. It was very interesting. Since this is my first episode with this, I was thinking it's somewhere in the galaxy, and it either is a new planet or it's one that's going to be explored by Voltron. But as soon as they said scientist ninjas, I'm like, oh, it's Bolto. So I was like, awesome. Yeah. I love that they gave us that they actually like show it not being a devastated planet anymore, but a very advanced and amazingly cool, how it really should be, with a bunch of intelligent scientist ninjas. It should have like all of that amazing capacity for technology. It should be totally technology based.
Right. So did you get that same sense, Greg?
Having watched it 12 years ago, I don't remember what it first felt like, but when they show the planet with the Planet Balto caption, if I were to try to rewind my brain 12 years, I think I would have recognized the planet name, but certainly its appearance, it does not match what I would have expected it to look like, where it looks kind of like Unicron from Transformers the movie. Or in more recent years, it really looks a lot like Altea from Voltron Legendary Defender, a ringed planet with a whole bunch of techno stuff going on.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So, what about you, Mark?
Well, it also has a little bit of a Japanese flair. If you're going down what they consider like one of the main areas, there's neon, there's some glowing lights and stuff like that, and it has all the feel of like Tokyo.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Maybe not like Shinjuku, which is like one of the cities with like all of the flashing lights and heavily populated, and yeah, it reminds me very much of Shinjuku when I come out of the station and you're going, wow, neon lights, awesome, that we're here. That's pretty much what it says to me.
Yeah. So what we see is there's a bunch of scientists doing computations and research, and then suddenly an alarm begins to flash. It's filling the room with a red strobe light, and then the scientists reach back, pull the collars of their lab coats up, and cover their heads, and they instantly become ninjas.
I love it. I was like, yes, I love costume changes. That was amazing. That was in split second fast. And I'm like, that's how it should be. Ninjas should be able to take off those lab coats and be able to do that split second, no time flat. I loved it.
I love the fact that the show's unapologetic about Pidge's people. When he says they're ninja scientists, he totally means it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I love how they're all really prepared and they're in complete sync with each other. Like they all seem to have built-in communicators so that they are just one movement. It was really beautifully animated. I will give it over to the creators for that. Everything flowed beautifully. If that had been a live action, I would have loved that just as much. That would have been beautiful.
So this whole scene is the teaser before the opening credits. And then when we come back from the opening credits, we go into Act 1. So the teaser is just building up, what's about to happen here. And of course, you go into the main street and it's supposed to look something like Times Square, according to the script, right? But it's Balto's version of Times Square.
Yes.
And it's completely empty. And then Lotor walks in and he's got Hegarium armor.
I loved it because that's a very Japanese like tie-in, because there was always the samurai versus ninjas. That's an ongoing folk story in every movie that's ever done in Japan. Because and I love that it's flipped, because samurai are usually the most honorable and most dedicated, where the ninjas are like, killers for hire. I love how they flipped that script, and Lotor is the samurai, which means he's the dishonorable one. So I love that and making the ninjas these incredibly good-hearted, very intelligent, very capable people. So I love that flip.
Yeah. So the way Lotor starts off, he says, "No one here to greet the mighty King Lotor." And he smiles, and then he sees dark shapes floating up on the rooftops and everything. Then he says, there you are. I've heard rumors that your people possess certain information about Voltron, his instruction manual, if you will. You're going to give it to me, right? Just right off the bat. That's Lotor's style.
Absolutely.
So here's something in the script that we didn't know about. What they didn't include is he would have said, "You're going to give it to me so I can power down the so-called defender of the universe forever." So
Dun, dun.
those are,
Dun, dun.
those are his actual intentions. His
Yeah.
intentions is to power down Voltron forever.
Yeah, in the instruction manual, he's looking for chapter 14, the permanent off button.
He's always looking for the permanent off button. He hasn't quite
Yeah.
succeeded. But I think it's kind of obvious, even though I've only watched this one episode, it's his like major goal at this point is to just shut down this robot that keeps kicking his butt all the time and making him look so bad. So I would think his ultimate goal is to just flip the switch and be like, you guys are done, ha ha, and dance merrily away laughing.
You know, in the instruction manual, they don't put the self-destruct button in quite as an obvious place as in Spaceball 1.
I know. I mean, with that, that's why this, Bolto is on top of that one. It's like, okay, first of all, guys, we are not putting the self-destruct button where you would think it's supposed to go. So it's probably in a nondescript disclosure kind of situation where they're not going to think to look there, because that's what I would do. I would not put the self-destruct button where everybody can get to it. Like you climb into the lion's head and there's the self-destruct button. That makes no sense.
Yeah, it was on the seat. Whoops.
Yeah, that too would be a really bad plan.
Yes.
It's under the console. Everybody knows that.
So, Greg,
Yeah.
when we see the ninjas that are all jumping around on the rooftops and everything, do they look like the ones that are behind you yet?
Well, we're only seeing them from a distance, so
Right.
yeah, they're not quite as clear or creepy just yet, because they haven't really been described by our friend Vince yet.
Yes.
But
We haven't gotten there yet. But
right.
I just wanted to sense, can you see ninjas? Can you hear them coming usually and all that kind of stuff?
No, they're completely silent. That's one of their special skills is their incredible amounts of stealth. They're so creepily silent. It's like a cat, except so much quieter. So yeah, I love the fact that you don't hear any sound, but you see the movements. So I love that they included the fact that you're not supposed to hear them. You can see them coming because you see the shadows, but I love that there is no sound whatsoever. It is completely silent, which is very, very fitting. So they did so kudos on that, guys.
So as they're blurring all around him, Lotor himself says, I was hoping it would come to this. So he's expecting a fight now. So he transforms his armor into a complete samurai suit, and he has katanas. And then he says, I'm ready.
He's ready.
Right?
He's so ready.
Yeah.
I don't expect anything less from him to not have swords, because it's a samurai armor. It should have katanas with it. It's it's wonderfully done. So yeah. I love seeing it.
So he gets into a fighting stance with his katanas. He has a devilish smile, and then he charges into the ninja blur, screaming, and then that's how the teaser ends.
Oh yeah, it was a really good teaser. You're going,
Yeah,
what? What? No.
Yeah, and very different from the norm for a classic Voltron episode or an episode of Voltron Force. This is, yeah, as you had mentioned, Liz, this is the first time we've seen Balto as a thriving planet. Defender of the universe, it was seen in ruins, and this is seeing it in a way that we might not have expected to see it, and we're jumping right into some action, and so an unexpected twist here with Lotor starting out jumping into battle right away.
I really like that they did that, because when we see it before, it's totally decimated. Like, you're like, how is anybody still here? But I love the fact that they made it into a thriving planet now, and that's so good to see, because I think it says a lot about where they might be going. and seeing more planets getting that revamp, because every time we saw it in Voltron, everything was kind of decimated. So you're like, I love that this is supposed to be time later, and I love all the buildup, and I love the people actually being there, and his brother Chip and people he actually cared about are not gone, are actually there. So I really liked seeing that we don't have that really sad thing, sad feeling for Pidge that he doesn't have a world anymore. He has a world, and I really like that they did that.
Yeah, it's a completely different universe when you don't have Zarkon and Hagar, and instead you have Lotor and Mayhawks. And it's really quite different. So,
And that's refreshing. I'm always glad with it these Voltron offshoots have their own spin on the story, because if they were identical to the original series, why make them at all? You know?
Right.
Absolutely. I'm loving all of the different renditions of the Voltron, from like Legendary Defender and now seeing the Voltron Force. I love all the takes. I'm really enjoying some new and exciting new characters coming in, so that we can give to a new generation. So it's just like it just keeps getting better, and I'm so glad. I'm just so glad that it's living up to what people expect from it. So I love that World, Well keeps doing that, so and that it doesn't disappear, because so many have.
Right. So we're coming back from the main title, and we go into Act 1. We're at the Castle of Lions, and Pidge is pacing back and forth in his quarters, nervously fidgeting with what looks like a Rubik's Cube type puzzle.
I love it.
Yeah. and it makes an annoying click-clack sound.
Yes.
I absolutely loved it. I was like, that's fitting, because a Rubik's Cube for like the 80s. I love that there's a lot of tie back to the original, especially with the Rubik's Cube, but it being different and very something that Balto would have, it being slightly different. And it's a fitting puzzle game for Pidge, because it's also kind of a fidget, because you can tell he's very upset about it, something.
Yes,
and
he's
this
anxious.
Be his go-to thing to like help work out what's ever going on and let his brain kind of not be so anxious. And he's very he's the one character who constantly needs something to do, because he's somebody that you got to put something in his hands or give him something to do, because he'll start like eating at himself and trying to puzzle things out that really are just not necessarily needing puzzled out right now.
Did you notice my fidget spinner is green?
Yeah, so I was just about to point out to our listeners that Mark has been fidgeting with a green lion or a green fidget spinner. So, but on the subject of Chip doing the whole clickety clack thing with his doohickey, his puzzle or whatever that thing is.
I love it.
It's a human thing. It's a very nice human, normal thing. It's not, a space thing to do. It's a normal humanoid thing to do, and it's just neat to see that.
Yeah, it's a very human thing. I love seeing that he's not just this very, their tech guy. He's also a human tech guy who's like really obviously upset that the fact he can't get a hold of his brother. So I love seeing the emotional side of that, because we don't always get to see that with Pidge. So it's nice to see that they make him into a human person. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, so his brother's image appears on the screen on the computer console, and he's trying to reach him, but he's only getting a message. And of course, Chip calls it a holophone. So I can't get to the holophone right now, but leave a message. And then Pidge says, Chip, it's your brother again. Call me back, So he's been trying to reach him several times.
Yep.
And he turns away from it. He goes back to pacing and fidgeting with his little cube thing. And he's got a worried look on his face. And that's when Hunk barges in.
Yeah, and I love that Hunk just immediately knows. He says, "Hey, where you been? I was waiting for you," and then he just immediately knows from the fidgeting that something's wrong with his buddy.
He
And
says, "Uh-oh, you're click-clacking. What's wrong, little buddy?"
Yes.
Click-clacking.
I
Mhm.
love that. That's the one thing. That's one of the things I love about Hunk is that he's always the first person to notice when one of the team members is terribly upset about something or something's on their mind. He's very much one of the hearts of the team because he's very caring and knows when things are up with the team, even when they don't say anything. So
Yeah.
I love that they point that out too, that he notices right away that something's wrong with Pidge and he's like, okay, what's going on? How can I help? And that's Hunk to a T. So I love seeing
Right.
that main personality coming back.
Yeah. So Pitch lets him know that he's been trying to get in touch with Chip and he can't. He says, "We talk every year on Intergalactic Ninja Appreciation Day, but I can't get in touch with him."
Played totally straight, totally straight.
Yeah.
Pidge doesn't. He's not going on Intergalactic Ninja Appreciation Day. It's totally straight, and Hunk doesn't bat an eye. He just says maybe he's busy today.
It's like it could happen, but yeah, I love that it's a completely straight face and he is like almost you can hear almost the pride in this, when he says this about Ninja Appreciation Day, because he's very proud of his people and it shows when he talks about this. And it's not like he throws his hands up and he's dancing around, but it's just that straightforward, no nonsense way that Pidge goes about it and is very excited, and very, very proud of that. And Hunk's once again the cool, down to earth guy going, yeah, maybe he's busy. Kind of like there's got to be a reasonable explanation, man. Nobody just doesn't stop calling you. So it's like I'm trying to sympathize with you, but I really have no idea how to, what can we do about this? Do we need to go? Because that's where Hunk's thinking right at that moment. I think.
And it was not just Chip that he couldn't get in touch with. It was everybody from Balto. So this is really serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Keith weighs in and says, "Yeah, something's definitely wrong. That the whole planet's offline. The communications are offline." And Hunk says, "Hey, let's go make sure Pidge's people are okay." And before they leave, Larmina and Vince both get a little bit of a snicker at Pidge's expense. Uh, which she says something like, "I'm confused. Pidge, don't you always claim to be descended from ninjas?"
Yeah.
And then he just says, "Yeah."
Yeah. He's just like, yeah.
See, you're going to see later on, Vince and all of the cadets, I think, don't believe much in Pidge being descended from ninjas or even Pidge being a ninja for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So from what they've seen of Pidge, they don't see this. So he hasn't shown his Balto side very often, I guess, at the Castle of Lions.
I'm looking forward to watching the series so that I can see about that, because that's very Pidge though, because he's not someone to be showing off himself, because he knows what he's capable of, and
Right.
he loves being the tech guy. That's one of his like best traits, is he's like, I'm the guy that loves to fix this, and I love building these back up, and I love adding new stuff. I love that they show that, because that's Pidge. And I love that Balto is supposed to be this technological world. It makes sense that he's the computer guy. So when things go down, it's Pidge is the one to call, and I love that.
Daniel points it out pretty strongly. If you have a whole planet of genius, butt-kicking ninja scientists, what could possibly happen to them? That seems like a pretty strong presence to have, and that you really wouldn't have any takers on trying to fight you on that. Right?
No. And I love that they point out that they're not getting any communication, which doesn't make any sense for a planet that is supposed to be based off of technology. So
Right.
that right there is going, okay, there's a serious problem. And I love that they're all on the same page and nobody's going, oh, maybe it's just a down day and they're doing reboots and that. It's like, no, there's nothing coming off of this. And that is very disconcerting. So I like that there is no question from anyone and that we got to go check this out. So I love the team, the teamwork once again. I love seeing that.
Yeah, there are never any planned outages on Balto.
Oh man, yeah. That's another episode for another time.
Are you saying they don't need a maintenance window on the weekends to upgrade their software?
Oh, perish the thought.
No, if they're anything like, since they're all kind of, I think they're all kind of workaholics and they're all like working all the time. I don't think I'd ever see a downtime. They're like, what? This is not a job. This is life. So it's fun. So they have the best kind of job.
Yeah. So they all hop in the Lions and they head towards Balto. As they're getting there, I want to show you what the script talks about, what the streets of Balto are supposed to look like. A stylized Japanese Tron city.
Oh, cool.
So that's what they call it. But it's completely silent and deserted right now. It's like a ghost town.
And yeah, it really shouldn't, because there should be people moving about, which is what Pidge says, is there should be like rush hour traffic right now, but there's nobody. So that for him is very disconcerting, the fact that there's nobody. So it's like, okay, something really bad has happened. And he's not showing fear, but he's very concerned about the situation, because people just don't disappear for any reason unless they've all been captured, and it's like that seems highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Since so.
Yep.
So they decide to start downtown because that's where Pidge's brother Chip lives.
Right.
Yeah. Then we hear a bunch of clanging sounds.
Yeah, they're getting hit with throwing stars.
I love it.
The Lions are getting hit by throwing stars. Not that would hurt the Lions, right?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so.
But it's got to be pretty annoying.
I would be worried what else those shurikens can do, because those throwing stars can go through people like tissue paper. So you're kind of wondering, do these explode? Because that would be my next question. I'm like, we should really get out of the line of fire. And it's like, because we're not sure what else they have in their arsenal, and that's smart. Because I'd be expecting the shurikens to explode after a while, because that would be my next thought, is like, they may not be getting into the metal, but they might explode. So I totally understand that scenario.
Yeah. So they don't know where these stars are coming from. They can't see any people, but Pidge is looking at a monitor which has a filter that shows the shapes of people. And he says that's because they've got their chameleon suits activated. But why would they be in stealth mode? So more throwing stars are bouncing off the Lions, and Hunk says, whatever they're doing, tell them to knock it off. And Alora says something is clearly wrong here. Balto is a Voltron-friendly planet. So that's something that we automatically get a sense of. Of course, if Chip's brother lives there, of course they're going to be Voltron-friendly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is immediately putting everybody on guard, because if this is friendly, why are they shooting at us? And why are they suddenly in stealth mode? So something is clearly wrong. And I love the fact that they have stealth mode suits. I want one.
Me too.
Yeah, we're still waiting for our VoltComs first.
Yes, waiting for that too.
Right, Greg? We've been waiting for our VoltComs.
That's right.
Of course, Eric Stocker made some for us.
Oh, those were so beautifully done. I was very envious when I saw those. I didn't bid on them because I saw Pete and them bidding, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna win that. So Maybe I'll ask Eric to make me one so I can go, yay, now I got my own.
There it is. Greg's got his.
Which one do you have?
So this is the yellow lion version.
Oh,
I don't have it lit up right now, but it's hard to tell with this. I have to turn my background
He's
off.
got his Ninja Chameleon suit on. Did you notice that?
So,
yeah, I know. I'm a little
my
jealous
Ninja
here,
Chameleon
Greg.
suit. That's right.
With the chameleon suits and everything, they can't see them, but Pidge can with a little filter on it on his monitor. So what ends up happening is that the lions start moving forward, but Black Lion is told to wait and stop by Pidge, and it freezes with its paw in the air because it's too crowded in here. If we move, we'll crush them. There's these ninjas all around them.
If I may be a nitpicker,
Yeah.
for a moment, why does only Pidge have this filter? Wouldn't that be nice to add to all 5 lions?
Yeah.
It's like in Legendary Defender. Why can only Green Lion cloak people?
I think there's a reason. I had a theory about that. That creation of the lions, each of them have a special ability, and I love that they still carried that through because I understand why they should have that, but that would be something that would be for Pidge, considering that he's from this planet. He would put it in his lion so he could see it. So
sure.
So I kind of like the fact that they still did that, where each lion has a special, unique capacity depending on how their paladins or their, how they drive it. What would be important to that particular pilot? So the fact that Pidge can see through things makes sense, considering that he likes to do that. He needs to see through all of the cloak and dagger stuff. As a ninja, that's something that makes sense for him. So that makes sense. I could see him having seeing through the cloak of things. So
yeah, if you know that your own people have this technology, you'd want to include it in your little pocket of tricks,
oh yeah.
It's like Batman. He's got a filter for everything,
Absolutely. And that's why he's Batman.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's true. Good point.
So Black Lion freezes, doesn't want to put the paw down because he's afraid of crushing people. So what's the plan then? Keith asks Pidge, and Pidge says something is definitely wrong with them. And then Vince sees something else from his seat. The way the Boltons are moving makes them look exactly like, and Vince says, they're zombies. And of course, Pidge doesn't think they're zombies.
No. But everyone else starts going, oh my gosh, it's true, they're zombies. He's going, they're not zombies. It's like, really, people, please just listen to me. They're not zombies. They're like, but they're sure acting like it. And you're like, this is the worst horror movie ever.
So I am loving, and this is the first of several references we're going to get to zombies. And there are indirect and direct references. Well, I'd say they're all indirect. We never flat out say which movie they're coming from. But there are references to legit zombie films in this episode, which is a lot of fun.
Yep.
I think it's so much fun because there's so many different zombie movies that kind of get referenced. Like you have the Night of the Living Dead where everyone's kind of shambling, but this is not how they're moving. They're moving really fast. So we're going to like a more modern type of zombie movie. And they're like, oh, this is what happens. We can't get separated. Oh man, we just broke rule number 1 of zombie movie.
Yeah.
Separated.
It's definitely not like the zombies from Zombieland. It's more like World War Z.
Yes. Like World War Z, where they're moving incredibly fast and they're able to climb, and you're going, there's nowhere safe to go.
And when they get together as a group, they're pretty smart. So
they're pretty smart.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I agree with that, Mark. I didn't
not
watch that
always.
movie.
I mean, what's funny is that they are not consistent, and I think that's part of the humor. Sometimes they are walking around with goofy awkward gaits.
Brains.
And, just kind of going, and then other times they are moving quickly and coordinated and have brains that are actually working. So I think that's part of the humor of the episode.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that they've combined many different things and aspects to not make it just, oh, this is this movie. So that's what's fun about it. And I just love all the comments of, oh man, we've already broke rule number 1 of a horror zombie movie. So I love that there's actually like reference to like rules of the horror genre that's thrown in there, which is so great because I love that. I love those old horror movies. Those are my favorite. So
So Pidge decides that they should go out on foot and not use the lions. And then they hear something, and Pidge says, I think they're trying to tell us something. And then they hear them moaning, brains.
oh my god, it's a zombie movie.
and of course, Vince, he's going crazy. Brains? See, they are zombies. Ninjas, scientists, zombies. Yeah, Vince is completely convinced that they're zombies.
Okay.
So here's what's funny, real quick. The whole brains thing, if you're into zombie movies, that is a reference to Return of the Living Dead, if I remember correctly, 1985. That's the first zombie movie where brains is something that zombies actually say. So tip of the hat to that film.
Yes.
But in those types of movies, they're worried about the zombies because the zombies like to eat brains.
Yes.
So that's what they're really worried about.
Yeah,
right.
I would be too. They were like, I need that.
But Vince and the others, they start wanting to fight the zombies off. But Pidge says, we can't hurt them. They're still Baltons. They just must be infected with some kind of a virus. Yeah, the zombie virus, right?
I love how Pidge stays relatively logical about going, okay, no, there's something going on and it seems like a virus. And I really think that when he says that I really think that the Baltons have in some way technology in their bodies to do this, because I really think they kind of upgraded their capacity, because I think their brains are all kind of computers when I think about that. And it may not be like you see all of the technology on the arms or anything, but I think it's more up here that they've added things to enhance the cranial capacity. So when he's thinking like it's a computer virus, and that's why he's being so calm about it, because it's not a physical one, it's a mental one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's never explicitly stated that they're augmented in any way, but it's a very interesting conjecture. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of think it, even if it's not, I still like the idea, because then it would explain, and I don't want to jump too far towards the end, but it does explain a lot at the end. So
yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah. So
at this point, Pidge tells Vince, don't worry, Vince, I got you covered. But Vince says, hey, Pidge, no offense, but if we're about to be attacked by zombies, I think I'd rather have... And then the other ones start punching and everything. And that's when Pidge tries to stop everyone. He just keeps saying, don't hurt them. And so if we don't defend ourselves, what do you expect us to do then, Pidge? So Pidge says, run. They start running away from the zombies.
I think this is one of those moments where they could have had Pidge say something going, I understand their training capacity. You don't understand. You don't want them to hit you because it might be harder than you expect. So please don't hit them, because their training is completely different. They're taught how to like disable people relatively quickly. So that's what I was thinking, is when he's like, no, we're going to run, because if they start hitting you, you're going to go down really fast and you're not going to see it coming, because they already showed in the beginning how fast they are. So
that's a very
he's
good
like,
point.
no, our best option is to run, and we need to get out of the open and into cover. And that's very fitting for somebody who's been trained to like deal with situations where you're outnumbered. We're totally outnumbered. We got to get out of here. We got to get cover, and we got to figure out where our next move is. And we can't do that while we're being attacked. So you can see his Pidge's tactician capacities coming full force right here. And I love that they did that, because you don't get to see him being a tactician very often, but he's a very good one. So I love that they demonstrate that.
And Vince says, why are we running on foot? Are you guys nuts? Have you ever seen a zombie movie? And Pidge keeps saying they aren't zombies. Larmina says we lost them and in their own streets, which means they're slow and dumb. Maybe they're zombies after all. And then Daniel does like a Night of the Living Dead characterization, saying they're coming to get you, Larmina.
It is interesting, and I hadn't noticed this until now, that Daniel says that, and then he is the first to get captured from the Voltron Force. Whereas in Night of the Living Dead, Barbara's brother, I forget his name, the one who says they're coming to get you, Barbara, he gets
well done.
Barbara.
Well done with that.
Yeah. Vince happens to notice that they move particularly fast and with purpose. So he says they're not slow, not dumb, and not just zombies. They're ninja scientist zombies, you know? And every once in a while you hear them moan, brains. So you get the title of the episode, right?
Yeah, and I love this that Vince is seriously saying they're ninja scientist zombies. It's like those goofy B movies that they've done in the modern era on the Sci-Fi Channel, like two-headed giant gator versus three-footed serpent or something. You know what I mean?
Yes, those really bad movies, and it's like,
yes. Yeah.
No, but the other thing is that Pidge is trying to get them out because this is their world and they know this place very, like, the ins and outs. So he's like, we got to keep moving. You guys don't understand. We are not in a good position right now. Strategically, we are at their mercy. And the fact that they haven't attacked us means that they're doing something. So we need to keep moving. And I love how he tries to keep them going, but the young ones are going, and are making fun of this, and they don't. And I love that there's some humor thrown in, because this is entirely a very like stressful situation to have these young people who've never been to this planet and never met these people, and now seeing how fast and capable they are with, and they got to do something to like knock it down, so they're not going, oh my gosh, we're going to start panicking if we don't like have a moment of humor. And that's really a great place to put that. So,
well, in every zombie movie, what happens to the people that panic?
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, they're usually
like,
gone.
I'm running in circles while they're going, Liz, come on. Oh and running in circles and panicking, and I'm the first one going down because I can't get it together.
So Pidge has an idea. Quick, get in here. And they go into a building, but what kind of a building is it?
It's a space mall.
It's a mall.
Yes, a mall like in Dawn of the Dead from 1978.
Yes. So Vince says, a mall? Seriously? This is like Zombie 101. Never go into a mall.
If only they gotten to play around in some of the shops like they did in that film. But,
right. So that they go in and they bar the doors shut, right? And then almost immediately they think they're okay. But if they try to sneak out near the rear entrance, that's not far from Pidge's brother's place either. So that's where they're going to go. But they turn around and they hear, and then all of a sudden, all kinds of things are hitting the glass. And it's throwing stars, but it's not just throwing stars. It's the type of throwing stars you mentioned at the beginning there, Liz.
The ones that explode.
It's exploding stars, right?
Yes, exploding shurikens. And it's like, oh man, where did they get those? And you're going, dude.
So here's something fun from the script, because the Voltron Force starts to run. And we'll get to the line of dialogue that plays into this, but there's a script note that says, "A note on the mall. In order to keep the design and number of backgrounds to a minimum while still using the parody of zombie movies in malls, we can use repeating backgrounds so that the same stores appear over and over again." And
Oh, I
so
missed that.
and they specifically touch on this in the episode, which is fun.
Oh,
Right.
I missed that. That's really great. Where was that on the wall, Greg?
Oh no,
Well-
this is just a note in the script.
Oh,
So-
it's just a note in the script.
Right.
Yes.
Daniel specifically points out an arcade. He thinks that would be fun if they didn't have to deal with zombies. Larmina is running with Alora, and she says there's another fun teenage couture outlet. What is a couture?
Couture. It's French for culture.
Okay,
Like
Yeah,
fancy
couture.
fashion stuff. Yeah,
that is
couture.
something I never knew what that was.
Yeah, that's haute couture. It's when they're doing fashion week, it's like art on models made out of fabric. So it's not supposed to look like anything you would normally wear. It's supposed to be this what wild and crazy ideas can you do with fabric? That's what haute couture is. And you see that a lot during Paris and Milan Fashion Week. So that's
Yep.
really great that they have that in there.
Okay, well, Alora mentions I keep seeing the same stores over and over again. It's like we're running in circles. And then Vince says, it's a zombie trap. Shoppers go in, but they can't get out.
Okay, have you ever gone into an anchor store at a mall, like a Lazarus or a Macy's or a JCPenney or a Sears or whatever, and you can't find the exit?
Yeah.
I mean, you know they arrange it that way.
Yeah.
It's like a casino in Vegas. Once
They
you
wanna-
get in,
Yeah.
it's like, where the
They
heck's
wanna-
the door?
They want to keep
I
you
can't get
there.
out.
Yeah.
It's like,
Did-
no, bring, come in. We
Right.
want your money. Look, there's another store. You know you want to go in.
And
Mhm.
Lance points it out. He says, Vince, it's just a mall. All malls are like this. All right.
Yes, they are.
Relax.
So true. They make reference to that in X-Men movies too, when there's the scenes in the mall where there's just all those shops and they're still trying to figure out how to get out of it.
So they're all running again, but this time Pidge says, I know I'm breaking like 10 of the most basic rules of zombie movies. And Vince says, no, just one, but it's a big one.
It's a big one.
Don't get separated.
I love that. And at this point, Vance is like, oh man, he looks so like they're ready to die because that's what he's expecting. And I love that Pidge is still so very calm and he's still keeping it together. And he's
Yes.
trying really hard to reassure his comrade that, no, dude, I've got this. Don't worry. You're in better hands than with anyone else because I know this place. So I know where we can get out of, get in. I could see Pidge like pulling off that, metal shaft thing and crawling through the air duct because he knows it inside and out. So I was hoping for that to actually happen.
One
Right.
thing that's kind of interesting about this is that Pidge, the only time we see him truly worried is when he's in the Castle of Lions and has no idea what's going on. But as soon as he's in the scene, in the moment, it's a puzzle to be solved.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
he's in his element,
In the zone.
Yeah.
Right. He says, I may not know how to stop zombies, but I know how to stop ninjas. And with that, his VoltCon glows as he whips up his hand, revealing a glowing ninja throwing star between his fingers. And Vince says, one throwing star? And Pidge throws the star at 4 approaching ninjas. And then he holds out his hand and tilts it. And then the stars split into different, stars, and then go after each of the ninjas individually.
I loved that. And I love that it came out of his wristband for that too. That shows that he is also really prepared. And now you can really see his ninja training come in because he just does this. You just see the star and then they go flying really fast. And all of a sudden, you just see them literally hooked by the sleeve to the wall. And you're going, oh man, I wish I could have slowed that down just to watch that like moment, because it was so beautifully done. You don't get to see it, and that's what makes it so spectacularly donely animated. So
Instead of hurting the ninjas, which he doesn't want to do, they pin the ninjas against the wall. It ends up being one of the funniest parts of the show for me, because I remember this back when I saw it originally when it first came out.
Okay.
And as soon as those ninjas get pinned against the wall, they say, "Brains?" like it's a question.
It's now a question, like, do we want? I think we want his, right? I don't know, but yes, and I like. It was so well done because he's still very calm and he's still doing I'm not hurting them. I just need to get them to stop. And those throwing stars are solid. I mean, they can't get out of that. And those guys have to be strong. So they're like, he really designed those to hold. So that was another good thing to show that these stars that he's made are really strong. So it's to hold someone really strong. So he knew what he was coming into. So once again, his preparation is really great. Once again, his tactician capacities are just amazing.
Yeah, so he throws these several times and he gets them all pinned. And once the battlefield is clear, then Vince says, "Ninjalicious."
That was such a good line.
Which is better than Pinkalicious, if you know what that is.
Yes. So Vince and Pidge get out of there. Vince has a totally different idea about Pidge now.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he says something, but I'm not sure what the exact words of the line.
Yeah, he says, I take it back. If we're about to be attacked by ninja scientist zombies, I think you're the man to be with.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
I like that Vince realizes that, and that's a good growth for him, considering how he's been not so okay about this mission, that he finally has that bit of growth for the episode to show that you should, that all of these guys, all these paladins, they really know their stuff. And I love that they show he's young, but I love that he came to that realization and is now more trusting of the Voltron Force.
Pidge and Vince are off to go to Chip's apartment. Okay.
Yep.
I love the condo. I want that.
Yeah, but
I want Chip's pad.
Oh, yeah.
we spend one more scene with the others though, and we see what happens to Daniel. So we're back with Daniel, Armina, Keith, Lance, all the rest of them, and Daniel says these zombies are totally weak. All they do is jump around and moan brains. Nothing to be worried about. Oh! As he gets lifted by two of them and taken away.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't, and Daniel's not a light guy, right? I'm not very familiar with, he's kind of he's not a lean guy. He's kind of got muscle, right?
Yeah.
He's got some muscle. He's average build, I'd say, among the Voltron Force cadets. Yeah.
Let's not forget he's not a full-grown adult yet. He's still growing.
Right.
Yeah,
but the fact that it only took two of these ninjas to grab him.
Yeah.
That was not I love everyone's reaction of, oh man, this just got real. On their faces.
Right.
They're going, oh, those guys are stronger than they look. And you're going, yeah, it's kind of hits me like Spider-Man. You don't think that he's strong, but you watch and Spider-Man is really strong. So don't underestimate a lean type, fighter body, because that can be very strong, surprisingly. So
Yeah,
I like that they did that they pointed that out.
So Daniel is taken away, but he's taken away very quickly, and the team tries to chase after him, but they realize they're not going to catch him. So Lance says, that's it. We have to get back to the Lions. So they're going to go back to the Lions, but then we get into Chip's apartment with Pidge and Vince.
Which is as creepy as heck.
So can you describe the apartment?
Oh, my dream technology apartment, because that's what when I saw it, I went, dude, I want to live there. you just want to stop the scene and do a slow panorama because it's so cool. That window is beautiful because you're like, man, that is like penthouse style apartment. It's got the best kind of view. And that's so cool to see that it gives, it shows Chip's kind of personality without him actually being there. So kudos.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they actually had the lights on, and that'd be a really inviting place. But with the lights off, it's like something out of a horror film.
Which is very fitting for the episode.
Yeah.
Like, this is cool. What, dude? And I love the sort of red tones to it because it also gives it a very horror graphic feel. It's got it's almost like you're walking into a bad crypt with, a vampire style movie because it's got all the dark tones and the reds that go with it. So once again, kudos to the designers on that one.
Oh yeah.
So what Pidge is doing, he finds out Chip is not there, but he says he's able to key his VoltCon to track Chip's chameleon suit. And then Vince points out the obvious, well, isn't it also a possibility that Chip is one of those zombies? And he said, probably. So he's probably hanging out with all the rest of the zombie ninja scientists. And Pidge says, yep.
Yep.
And then Vince says, and we're going to go crash the biggest zombie party in history. And Pidge says, yep.
Yep.
So it's that little thing there that gets you even a little bit more suspenseful because oh great, now we got to go after all these zombies and we're looking for Chip in particular.
Yep.
So how are we going to turn him from being a zombie back to normal?
And I like that that Pidge is already trying to figure that out, and that's a major priority, but at the same time not knowing anything about Vance and then knowing what happens later is beautifully done because such a huge amount of help and not and not realizing it. So those two being put together was wonderfully done. And I really think if the bad guys had realized they were together, they would have tried to separate them and put them on different teams and would not have been able to be successful. So wonderfully done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to give anything away because we're not there yet.
Right.
But
so we go back to the others getting into the lions, and Larmina gets to go into Green Lion because both Pidge and Vince are not there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately the lions start moving around, and then they find out that the ninja scientist zombies are all starting to run away. And Alora says, what would make them run away like that? Lance says, something worse than ninja zombies. And then Hunk said, great, what could be worse than ninja zombies?
Ask and you shall receive.
and of course, it's Lotor in his Hagarium samurai armor.
Should have figured that. It's like, don't ever ask that question. How can this get any worse? And that's usually what happens. Something worse shows up and it's Lotor and you're going, okay, I like his new suit. Well done. That's not good though. So that was my thought when I saw that. I'm going, oh man, it just got real again and it just went up a notch. So I'm just like, what are they going to do with that? Because this is going to be interesting. So that was my thought when I saw that. And it was really, really cool actually. So
yeah. And we're getting to my second favorite line in the whole thing. It's where Lotor says, long have I waited for this moment. And Hunk goes, who talks like that?
The Seven Samurai, that is where it comes from. That is from the old movie, and that is where it comes from. And it's really great to see that. And it's very fitting for the samurai costume, but it's also kind of ironic when you think about it, because he's not honorable and he's here to like try to destroy them. But it's so good too. I love it. It's so good.
So Lotor says, when I faced you in the past, I lack the sufficient power to beat you, but now, and then what you see him, his whole suit crackles with energy, and he starts to grow into a massive samurai ninja robeast.
Yeah. So the script has a note here. Again, it's not in the dialogue, it's just a script note. It says, design note, the samurai robeast suit is more robot looking. Lotor did not grow to this size himself, just his armor. I do wish that that had been a little more clear in this episode. It would have been kind of cool to see an interior shot of Lotor operating this thing.
Yeah.
And you know, and maybe he, you know, operates it by movement, like in Robot Jocks or whatever else, where the suit mimics his own movements. That would have been kind of neat. But
Gundam,
Yeah,
any of the Gundam series. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was kind of hoping for that because that's what I assumed, is that he grew with it. That's a good point, Greg. And now that you've said that, it's like, oh, okay. So that would have been cool for an interior shot. But I think they were trying to not do that, to like not give anything away, to like assume that Lotor got that big and going, man, what did you do? Did you augment or something? Did you get like metal in your legs and stuff and grew up? So,
or maybe they were just trying to save a few bucks and not animate a new background. I'm seriously, I mean, it's a TV show. It does have a limited budget. You know,
what are you talking about? We can't do that kind of stuff. That's extra money.
They do make decisions based on money. I have found.
Yeah,
all right.
That's sadly true.
Yeah.
So this is basically Act 3 we're in right now. So this is the final act. The lions are starting to shrink back from this Lotor samurai robeast. And Lotor says, I don't want to fight your lions. To defeat you at anything less than full power would be a disgrace. So in other words, it is honorable that if I am this big, then you should also be this big. In other words, I'm not going to fight you because right now at this point, I would probably beat you in just your lion form. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to become Voltron.
But is that honor, or is it just the fact that Lotor just wants to kick the living crap out of Voltron?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit selfish too, but I think it's based in the tradition of the honor of the samurai. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As an homage, yes, yeah.
It's
totally.
as an homage, yes. But Lotor is so dishonorable, and he's on numerous occasions have tried to take them out while he's like, let's do an honorable duel, and has done totally the opposite. So it's kind of ironic coming from him again. Let's be honorable. You're going, dude, we can't trust anything that comes out of your mouth. When you say honorable, we're just looking behind us to see what's coming back behind us. Right. Because that's what you do. So they're all probably going, are you guys, you know that there was some, you know, as a behind the scenes kind of thing where they're all on the communicators going, do you believe this guy? He's actually talking about honor right now? What? Someone just take him out. Let's just go. This is not going to be a good fight.
Lance says, I believe our nemesis just requested Voltron. And Keith said, then Voltron he'll get. And then he goes through the activate interlock, the whole sequence and everything. And this is to the old style music.
Yes. So what did you think of this as a first-time Voltron Force viewer?
Oh my God! I was so happy and excited. I'm sitting there like in my seat watching this on my tablet, and I was like, oh! I'm sitting. My mom's looking over at me like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm going, "It's the stuff." And my mom's just laughing, just looking at me like my daughter has lost it, and I'm going, oh! And I'm just moving and grooving with it because I'm like it. And I just love that the fact that he goes diatherms, and I was just loving the entire sequence. And I was just so glad to see that, because the Legendary Defender, they don't do it, but it is so classic Voltron to see that. And I've watched the Go Lions, and that other song they have in there is so terrible. So I love the fact that they changed it. and have this power kicking music going, which is what you need to do for this, because this stuff is just getting real, and the fight needs to have that amazing power chord to get going. So I love that once again Keith is doing Dynatherms activated. Oh, it was so great. I was just going, I wanted to stop and rewind it again just to hear it again. It was so wonderful to see that. So I was totally geeking out right at that moment.
Yep, I geek out every time they do it.
I do. Shows. I can't help it. It's and so beautiful. And the only thing is, I know it's digital, but you know, the hand drawn, you cannot beat that. But they did such a good job with this and throwing everything into it, even though it's digitally done. So kudos to them. I really appreciate that being brought back. So kudos, guys. Awesome job.
So as soon as Voltron is formed, Lotor comes after them with a whole bunch of like martial arts moves and starts kicking butt. And then we immediately go back to Pigeon and Vince.
Yep.
So Pidge and Vince are tracking Chip's suit, and it leads to what they think is a dead end, but it ends up being an elevator. And then all of a sudden the elevator drops very fast. And when they get to the bottom, it's like probably very deep underground.
Yeah.
And Vince feels the pain from it. He says, Daniel would have loved that. Me, not so much.
Right. I feel him, because every time I watch a movie where they suddenly drop really fast, my stomach goes up and I'm going, I'm not even in this shot, but I can feel like you're on the roller coaster. And it's like, I feel you there, man. I'd be going, okay, are we done? Do we get to the bottom?
Yeah. It's like the Tower of Terror at Disney World.
And the worst part is there's no stop to like give you the suspense. It just goes and you're like,
right. So they end up in a room that's like kind of purplish all around. They can see some of those ninja scientist zombies attached to things. And Vince says, what is this place? They start to sneak in, and then all of a sudden they see Mayhawks. And
I think it's hilarious, this whole bit here.
Yes, I agree. This was a good part. I really enjoyed this.
I mean, all you need to know for this episode is that Mayhawks is working with Lotor.
Right.
Okay.
But there is a season-long arc for Mayhawks.
Okay.
He's introduced in the first episode, and there is a definite undercurrent going on that builds over the season.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah.
So
okay.
The way that Hagar was sort of the witch for Zarkon is sort of the way that Mayhawks is sort of the warlock for Lotor. You know,
okay. Except more technology based.
Well,
that's what it's like to me.
Yeah, I mean, Mayhawks could use a little bit more magic, but he uses more science than magic.
Okay.
Yeah.
They start asking, what's he doing? And then Mayhawk says, oh, don't talk about me like I'm not here.
You're just like, dude, you guys are talking really loud. I mean,
so I always laugh in TV shows and movies. There's a Disney Plus show that my daughter likes to watch. It's kind of a young adult humor show called, or not humor show, a young adult horror show called The Secrets of Sulphur Springs. And we binge watched season 3 recently, and they're hiding around this corner, and there's a table that's like 6 feet away, and they're talking about all this stuff, and they'll all three will poke their heads around the corner looking at this table that's like 6 feet away. Nobody sees them, of course, and this is turning that on its head. You know, like, oh, it's Mayhawks. What's he doing? It's like, I can hear you.
It's like, guys, it's a big open cavern. It's echoing. We're not doing stealth mode anymore.
Right.
But I like that it's Vance that's talking and not Pidge, because he's like, he's probably going, dude, you gotta stop talking.
Yeah. Well, Vince isn't one to know all that.
No, I love that. I love that he's the voice commentary, because Pidge is not giving us anything. He is so laser focused that he's not giving any commentary. And I'm glad that they had someone to give us commentary and to make the humor parts of that, because it's so wonderfully done. So
yeah.
And I just think that's hilarious.
So he does say, you may have ninja in your blood, but you sure make a noisy entrance. And they start to run at Mayhawks, but Mayhawk says, and he grabs this lever, and he says, you make one move and I hit the kill switch. You're smart. You can probably figure out what that does.
I love that line.
That was a really good one, because it's being ironic and it's all at the same time cheeky. So I really like that snark with this. I'm like, man, I shouldn't like this bad guy, but I like him.
Yeah. And
he's a little bit more fun than Hagar, and is willing to do banter. And I was enjoying that whole part. So that was pretty good.
And now we get to find out what Lotor and Mayhawks are really doing on Balto. So Pidge says, what are you doing to my people? And Mayhawk says, what does it look like? Mining their brains for information. Oh, and turning them into Hegarium-infused zombies. Small side effect.
It's all right. It'll wear off, possibly. I'm not sure.
I like how he flat out says zombies.
Yeah.
And Pidge says the whole time, they're not zombies.
Right. But Pidge says, what information could the Baltans possibly have that you want? And this is the good part. Mayhawk says, oh, dear Pidge, do you really not know your own people's history? Vince says, what is he talking about?
Yeah, in that moment, Pidge is going, what is he talking about? But he's looking very poker face, and he's going, you know what? I'm not going to tell you, even though I have no idea, because, that's my thought. He's got such a good poker face that he's going, just give it a moment. He's going to tell me.
Right. That's the thing about all the bad guys. They always want to tell what their nefarious plan is, right?
The monologue.
Yep. Like in The Incredibles.
Yes.
I called him monologuing.
And he just started monologuing, and it was just going on and on. And you're going, oh, I love the trope, though. It's such a good trope.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And Mayhawk says, and the magic cadet. I would think you should know this too. The ancient Baltans were responsible for the original programming for your precious Voltron.
Dun, dun, dun!
Are you kidding me? Really?
And there's the question mark that in anime is there. It's like, huh?
Or Tim Allen.
So here's something that Liz didn't get to see.
Okay.
Because you haven't seen all the episodes.
No, I haven't. So.
But we've also been on another planet where the Lion Riders are. And the Lion Riders had some hieroglyphics or stuff in their tombs. And it may have pointed to some of the origins of Voltron.
Oh, okay, cool.
So there are other places other than Balto where we've seen possible origins of Voltron.
Right.
So what people who have been watching the show will find out is that there's many different worlds that are combined together, have sort of made Voltron.
Yeah.
I really like that idea that it was a community project. So I really like that they went with that again, because the fact that, they just sort of appeared, is great and magical and fantasy-like and awesome. But I love that there's an actual backstory as to how the Lions came to be. So I like the fact that it makes sense for Balto being the ones to do all the electrical work and the programming. So
Yeah.
I really wonder where the materials came from. I'm wondering what planet, and that's why I'm looking forward to going back and watching it so that I can catch up and go,
Mhm. This
Yeah,
connects
so
to this,
No.
it connects to that connects to this, and this connects to that.
right,
Yes.
the giant poster board of like, here's Voltron in the middle, here's Balto, here's this planet, and it all comes together with the string theory. So
Yep.
I love that concept, that it was a community effort and not suddenly the powers that be created this amazing being. And it's like, no, it would make sense that people would come together going, we need something to protect all of us. We're like really far out here. And some people just don't have the defense capabilities. And as we've seen with Lotor and his father, they are capable of like going as far as it takes to get what they need. So, that leaves a lot of places defenseless. So I like that concept.
So I will point out that this was a nit that I have had with this episode, which is Mayhawks is scouring the brains of contemporary Boltons to learn Voltron's programming secrets, which were, the programming was done by the ancient Boltons. So if he's mining the brains of Boltons from centuries or millennia after the programming was actually done, do they have an ancestral memory that is unique to them that humans don't have? I mean, we don't inherit the memories of our ancestors. Do they do that, or is this, as you suggested, Liz, is this a possible indication that their brains are augmented in some way, so that they're able to act as sort of like backup drives for other Boltons of the past?
I really think so. With that, coming to that conclusion, that's what I was thinking, is that would be another way to keep Voltron running if something happened, because you need backup fail safes in case something doesn't work. And Boltons, who they've shown time in the series, which I'm looking forward to seeing, has time and time again shown that there is backup. And in order to do that, you need to pass that information on to the next generation and so forth and so on. But it's probably specific people that within, the Bolton society, which would make sense, because he, as he's demonstrating, he's taken everybody, because he doesn't know exactly who would know. So that would make sense. So certain people within the community would have that knowledge. He wouldn't know which ones, because they're wearing masks. They're all trained to be, ninja fighters. So he wouldn't have that information. Thank goodness for that, because there would have been a specific target. And my thought is maybe Chip or Pidge's family might be part of that. And because Pidge now works on it, so it would make sense that maybe their family had ties to that back in the past, and they're one of the few families that has that secret information. But knowing Chip, he would not want his brother to know that, because it would put him at risk. So that would be a thing why Pidge would not know that right now.
That's very interesting.
So
Interesting hypothesis.
So do you think Chip got his name from a computer chip?
No, I think his name is abbreviated, to be honest. I think the chip actually stands for something. As to what that might mean, I don't know, because I think it would be, that's what I think, is that it might be a code inside his name. Because that's what I think when it comes to that, because
you don't think it's the California Highway Patrol?
Dun, 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 dun.
I was thinking Eric Estrada.
I'm sorry. I just can't put my faith in the Chip law enforcement right there. They don't do a very good job.
All right. Going back to Mayhawks, he does say, "Oh, it's so fun to educate. You want to know something else? As soon as I'm done mining this information from the depth of these brains, the Boltons will all be vegetables, and I'll know how to power down Voltron forever." So a progress bar shows on the computer screen, and it looks like the download is about halfway done.
Well, then it dings in the episode. There's a ding, which is awesome. It's not mentioned in the script.
Yeah,
There's a ding sound.
but a few of the zombies are released from their head harnesses, and then says, Mayhawk says, "Oop, that batch is done," and he tells the zombies, "Now go fetch me some more brains."
But that's why I mentioned the whole ding thing, because it's like an easy
Done.
bake oven or something, you know,
Yeah.
or some kind of an egg timer, or you know.
Yep.
I love the little sense of humor about, oh, that's done. Ding! How delightful. And the thing about this character is that he's enjoying this with Pidge, because the fact that Pidge doesn't know, he's relishing, and that's why he's telling them, because it's like, guess what? I know something you don't know. I know something you don't know.
Right.
And it's like, that's got to be so frustrating for Pidge, because he's supposed to like know so much, and the fact that this guy knows more than he does, you know him being so calm, but right down he's like fire burning, going, man, I want to take these shurikens and put him in your head, because he suddenly has that very frowny face that looks like, I could just throw these, but I can't risk anyone's life doing it. So he's now in this situation where he has to figure out a plan to get out of this without killing everyone. So it's really wonderfully done for this villain to go, yes, by the way, I've got this, and I'll pull that, and I'm going to kill everyone, and I'm still going to get what I want. And it's like, how are you feeling? Now be honest.
It's not just the lever that he was holding on to that he could pull that would keep them from coming after him. He's got a couple other things up his sleeve. So he says, I imagine the brains of the Voltron Force must be useful as well. What do you think? And then zombies carry an unconscious Daniel into the room and strap him to a table.
That's kind of bad.
Yeah, so he's got Daniel, and then
just complicate some more.
Yeah, and then Pidge says, "You're about to get the entire brain trust," and he talks into his Voltcom, calling all Lions, and nobody answers. Mayhawk says, "Sorry to disappoint, but your friends will not be coming to help you. They're a little preoccupied." So that's the Lotor part that's keeping them busy while he does his thing.
You got to give it over to them. They did a really good strategical strike, him doing that and Lotor keeping them busy, because so they were working really well together for that episode, doing diversion. So well played.
They were using their brains.
and in this scenario, Lotor doesn't even have to defeat Voltron. He just has to keep them busy for a while.
He just has to stall them.
Yep.
And he's enjoying kind of showing himself off a little bit, because he's like, what are you guys gonna do? Let's this is close combat. This is not what Voltron's very good at, because the sword requires so much space. So it's like, I've got to win right here. So I'm gonna kick your butt, and we're gonna get that information. So it's a win-win today. But I like the fact that there's the surprise is coming. So that was really, really exciting to see. I was like, man, how are we going to get out of this?
So the key here is that the battle is going on in the city square, right? And Voltron is not faring well against Lotor's martial arts moves. He's pretty much right on Voltron with the quick attacks, and the Voltron can't seem to get enough room to fight. And Keith says it's time to form Blazing, and he can't even get that going.
Yeah, so then Larmina, this is very interesting. Larmina then calls out Energy Star, and Voltron forms a sort of a throwing star. And this is the first time that weapon is used ever. And it is one of only 2 appearances of this weapon. This episode introduces it, and then in the later episode, Vince makes a little kind of a music video about the Voltron Force, and you see Voltron using this weapon and another one that is introduced and only used in this episode. It's also
okay.
used in that episode. So this weapon and the we'll get to that later. But yeah.
Yeah. So Larmina is saying, or Alora, I'm sorry, Alora is saying this isn't working. Voltron wasn't designed to fight in such close quarter hand-to-hand combat.
Mhm.
Lance says we need a new strategy. Larmina says, how about a new power? And Keith says, what do you mean? And Larmina says, I mean, we got to fight fire with fire. Take this thing on with martial arts, kung fu, capoeira, jiu-jitsu, whatever works. And Hunk says, great idea in theory, but as Alora just said, that just isn't in Voltron's bag of tricks.
Mhm.
And Larmina says, are you sure? Because neither was the speed boost until Daniel came along and plugged in his VoltCon. So Larmina says, nobody's plugged me in yet. And then Larmina says, Keith, have you seen me do kung fu? And so she starts to do this. She says, trust me on this. She plugs her VoltCom into her lion, and the Nexus begins to glow. And then Larmina says, butt kick boost.
Which is awesome.
Yes.
So when Daniel plugs in and speeds up Voltron, he shouts out speed boost. When Daniel or when Larmina does her thing, she says butt kick boost. And in one of the later episodes, one of Vince's power-ups is he shouts out power boost. Each of the cadets Voltcoms adds a little bit of something to Voltron.
It's like in the Matrix. It's in the Matrix when Neo gets the plug in the back of his head, and then he gets a tape that teaches him kung fu, and then he comes out of it and he's like, I know kung fu.
Yes, that
Show
was
me.
a really awesome part of the Matrix, watching as he does all of that. And I just want to stress that that was all Keanu Reeves. He did all of that work. He did not have a stunt double.
Mhm.
So he did all of the martial arts for that. So that's pretty awesome. So I really enjoyed seeing that in the episode, watching as she starts throwing in all of the kung fu and the jiu-jitsu, and suddenly he's going, you gotta think Lotor's going, oh crap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was unexpected. Well, I didn't think of that. And it's like, oh, it's all right. It's only temporary. I'm only here supposed to do a short time. But part of him's going, there's a frowny face in that cockpit where you can't see.
So the script even mentions when Larmina says roundhouse kick, Voltron leaps in the air, lands fist down on the ground in the classic fist of legend pose.
Mm-hmm. That was really cool.
Good stuff.
Well animated.
So at that point, Lotor pulls out a sword, a katana. Larmina says, sword fight, huh? And Larmina says, let's do it. And then Keith says, form blazing sword. So this time they're able to form blazing sword.
Mm-hmm. And then we're back to our friends down below.
Right.
Oh man, come on.
Right. So we're not there yet, but we're going to get to a sword fight in a minute.
Yes.
We see Mayhawks again, and he says, your ninja skills are impressive, Pidge. And then he sends wave after wave of ninja zombies to subdue Pidge.
Mm-hmm.
But Mayhawks moves out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, Vince goes up to the podium that Mayhawks was at, and he plugs into it, and he tries to reverse the Hegarium effect. And then all of a sudden, a big red banner appears, request denied. and Vince says, snark bags.
This show has an obsession with the word snart, by the way.
Yeah.
As you'll see as you watch the show.
I like the fact that he didn't get to do anything right away. I like that there was some denied for this because that would be way too easy if he was able to just get in and then reverse everything because we have to build up some suspense for this.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that it takes him a couple of tries and he has to like really kind of think outside the box. So that was really good to see. And it wasn't just, Voltron Force got it now. And then woo, we're in. But it was like,
Right.
oh crap. And it just kept denying him. And that was really good to see because I would think that the bad guys would have you can't get through right now because I don't want you to. So
Right.
I would think for someone being this smart, he would have backup plan to not let anyone just be able to shut it down. So that was really good to see.
So we go back to the fight in the square, and now they're in a high-speed sword exchange, and they're meeting each other clang for clang. And a determined Larmina's VoltCon surges, and Larmina says, "Blazing Katana."
And this is the first time that weapon appears.
But
and
it appears
again,
in which hand?
the left hand, the green hand.
The left hand, right.
Yeah. So this is the first time this weapon is used, and the only other time it is used is once again in the documentary, the music video thing that Vince makes in a later episode. So yeah, it's one of those one and done kind of deals.
Right.
So-
It kind of it does make sense considering she's one of the arms, and isn't she normally in the Blue Lion?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that would make sense when only she's in one of the arms to be able to do that. So that's really consistent and wonderful in detail because that really makes a lot of sense. Because why would the leg have a sword? Although that would be cool.
That's
That would
true.
be cool, but it wouldn't be very useful.
But with Voltron having blazing sword in the right hand and a katana in the left hand, the battle is almost over because, whereas in all the old battles with Voltron and a Roe Beast, once blazing sword was formed, it wasn't too long after that where Voltron won. But with blazing sword and a katana, oh my gosh.
It's
a sure thing.
It's what we call in D&D a triple critical Vorpal like attack.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Because that is the end kill shot. So when that sword opens, it's the Vorpal attack. So I love that it's a dual Vorpal attack on that because it just cuts it right down in a kind of cross, and that was really cool.
So Larmina says pwned, and then she says flawless victory.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lotor shrinks back down to normal size. And he talks on his communicator. He says, "Mayhawks, your stupid plan failed again. Evacuate immediately." So he's ready to run.
It's like, oh, dude, we got our butts kicked again. Why? I was just hoping that he would do a hair flip, just an added thing because he's just got such beautiful hair. I really missed that about him.
Yeah. So he lets Mayhawks know that they're coming, and that's Mayhawks' cue to turn and run for the exit. So Vince is still trying to reverse those brain vacuums. And
I think that's hilarious.
It's like, come on.
Eventually, the screen that had been red before now turns green and reverses, and it empties back to zero.
And that's my point why I think they're augmented, because in reality they would be stuck. There would be no way to reverse that. So that's why I think that they have something from the brain stem all the way down through the spinal cord adaptations. So that's the only way.
That's a good speculation there. I was thinking of the Batman 1966 movie where all those world leaders got dehydrated and turned into powder, and then they were slightly mixed up when they were restored, so everyone was speaking different languages than they did before. If this brain vacuum got put in reverse, I just wonder if they're personalities would be all jumbled up, but who knows?
This kind of sadly makes me think of the Wallace and Gromit and the Were-Rabbit when they decide to flip the switch, and he wants to try to make the bunnies like not eat the vegetables, but in fact it flips the switch and he becomes the bunny, and it's really funny. You should watch it. It's a very, very hilarious classic of brain switching where he becomes a were-rabbit and starts eating all the vegetables, and it's really funny.
That is awesome.
It is so awesome.
I do love Wallace and Gromit. I have not seen that one though.
You got to see it. It's like, and they make so many wonderful classic references to the werewolf with Lon Chaney in it. So it's really good.
Wow.
It's like, oh, and there's like lightning in the background, and it's like doing all. It's really funny. They did a nice job with the classic.
Love it.
Well, in this show, in unison, all the ninja eyes lose their Hegarian glow and everybody goes back to normal. And Pidge says, Vince, you did it. And then one of the ones in the front says, Pidge. And then Pidge says, Chip. And he takes his hood off.
Yeah.
And you see it's Chip. And Chip says, what are you doing here? And he looks around, and where is here anyway? And Pidge says, long story. And Vince says, underground brain farm turned you all into zombies.
Long and short end of the story.
Chip says, ninja scientist zombies? That's ridiculous.
No, that can't happen. That's ridiculous. And it's like, I had this recorded, guys. I'm just gonna play this back for you. It did happen.
Love it.
It's definitely Pidge's brother, because he's like, no, that's just ridiculous. And Pidge was going, no, they're not zombies.
So Larmina has to go to the other cadets and she has to tell them how great she was, right?
I was kicking butt. Whoa.
Yeah. You guys totally missed it. I plugged into Voltron. It was all like, hiya, woo, yeah, crescent kick, kia. Yeah. So she has to share that with the other guys. And then Pidge says Mayhawks was using some kind of brain vacuum to suck information out of the Baltons. And Vince says, yeah, apparently Balto was involved in the programming of Voltron. And Alora says, yet another planet that had a hand in its creation. Voltron's story is getting more and more interesting.
Dun, dun, dun.
So Keith says, how much information was Mayhawks able to collect before you shut him down? And Vince says, looks like he was about halfway done. Hunk says,
that's pretty far.
Yeah,
pretty far.
Hunk says, that's not so bad, right?
I was like, no, that's not good either.
Yeah.
20% will be okay with, but not half.
Yeah, so Pidge says, Lotor may know things about Voltron that we don't even know. And Larmina says, yeah, well, if the Samurai Robeast is the best he can do, I say bring it on. So at this moment, they probably think that Mayhawks has more information than they have, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Right?
Maybe.
Well, the last scene sort of lets us know that that's pretty much the truth, because Mayhawks is sort of like in the middle of this twirling thing of it's like a symbol code, it's a code of symbols, right?
Yeah, like the Matrix, where you see all those weird symbols on the screens. Yeah.
Right. And he says, you certainly are a fascinating giant robot, aren't you? And he laughs. And that's how it ends.
Yes. I was really hoping for like the little, the evil villain rubbing the hands and cackling. Because it looked like he was getting ready. He was so ready to do that. I was just waiting for it. But I'm glad they didn't, because it's a really bad villain trope. But it was just like, he was going, oh, he was all like tingling with the information because he looked so excited about what he gathered. Even it was only 50%. Whatever he
Right.
got was really good stuff. So
Yeah.
he must have gotten some of the Boltons that actually had some knowledge that he was looking for. So
Right.
Yeah.
that kind of leads you to going, oh crap, does he actually find like a way to disarm Voltron and not allow the blazing sword to happen? What exactly did they get? So
Right.
it leaves you with
The permanent off button really is under the
the
console.
console. I've got it now. And I just imagine Lotor somewhere like licking his wounds and having a glass, because that's how it always seems to end in the episodes.
Did you guys see Ready Player One?
Yes, that was awesome. I love that movie.
Okay, so
Think so.
he wins the contest, and he's being shown. Now, come here. I want to show you something. There's this big red button.
Yes.
And this is how you can just totally shut down the Oasis forever.
Yes.
If you hit this red button, then it shuts down all the server farms and they all melt down and the entire Oasis is gone forever. And as he's doing that, the real live person is inside of a van that's shaking all over the place, and he gets hit and he almost falls into the button. And he goes, try not to ruin the Oasis on your first day, all right?
Yeah. And yeah, that was such a great scene because he's trying to listen to what he's being instructed, but at the same time, his friends are like getting they're getting shot at, and it's like he can't do anything because he's the one holding the egg right now. So he's doing this in the van, and he's going, oh man, if I drop this, what's gonna happen? So, yes, that sequence is hilarious. Yeah. And that was a really surprisingly good movie. I don't know if you've read the book, but they have. Did you read the book? So I was told in the book that they have to explain all the 80s references to what they put in the movie, and I'm like, but for those of us that were there, we don't need it. But apparently, we're talking about millennials here, so I was like, we all know who John Hughes is.
Yeah.
Nobody needs it. He does not need to be explained.
Exactly.
But amazingly, not everyone was alive in the 1980s.
Well, then
I'm just saying.
Horror for it.
Hey, what's that behind you there, Greg? What are you switching to?
I know. I like his I love
That's
his
from Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
That's the very first zombie appearing. Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
Yep.
You should also put on Shaun of the Dead, because that's another good one. That's
a good one. I haven't seen it in many years, but I do remember it. Yeah.
My favorite part is the one where they're going, oh, and the zombies coming down and they're going, oh, and it's so my favorite part in that entire sequence.
That is funny.
They're so drunk that they don't realize it's a zombie coming at them, and he's going, and they're going, and it was so funny.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't remember that part. I'll have to check that out again.
You gotta rewatch it, Greg. Once you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's a good part.
So what did you guys think of this episode?
It's so awesome. So awesome. I loved it. It makes me want to watch the rest of the series, because I'm like, man, I'm really glad I didn't see it, but at the same time, I can now go back and watch it and see how all of this comes down to the episode we just watched. Because I'm like, man, I want to see Daniel plugging in now and seeing how fast this actually makes Voltron move.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we always see him moving fast, but he's moving at a giant robot's pace.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I want to see super speed.
So the formation of Voltron used to take 36 seconds.
Yeah.
And Daniel, being a big, huge fan of Voltron, had always known that. And one of the previous episodes, they had a little eye thing that was running through the air and everything all over the planet. and every time they faced it, it kept on stopping them before they could form Voltron.
Ah, okay.
And there wasn't anything they could do. So after they got back down, they basically retreated and then came back down and got back in the Castle of Lions. And Daniel told them a story about how long it takes Voltron to form, 36 seconds. So he thought there's got to be a faster way. And then eventually, he was able to figure out how to plug into Red Lion, and then he was able to, once they formed Voltron, able to come together real quick. So
yeah,
That's a fun
I'm
one.
looking forward to that. So I appreciate you guys sending me this and inviting me to watch this, because I'm like, man, I'm going to go back and watch this, and then I can send you guys going, I've watched it all. I'm actually kind of sad that there's not another season and it's only one. Because I think they do so much with this. But once again, money plays a huge part of this.
In the second season, we would have found out more about one of the other planets, the energy planet.
Oh, okay.
We would have found out more about that as to the origins of Voltron, and we would have found out more about how Vince may have gotten his powers.
Oh, that's sad.
But
that
we only have very vague information about season 2. I mean, those are some things that have been shared, and the book, the hardcover book Voltron from Days of Long Ago, a 30th anniversary celebration, has an epilogue in it, which is intended to be a little bit of a follow-up to the TV series, but it's seemingly based on some of the ideas that the writers from the show had. I think it is darker than I can imagine the show ever getting. So I don't know how on point it is, but it is an interesting thing.
But yeah, these are some of the things. Some of the things that happened. So they go into more how Daniel basically turned on them because of his Hagarium infection. And then
we don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah. And then also
Bob talked about that though last year at the panel. So I'm aware of that part.
And then also about the return of Hagar.
Oh, okay. Okay. So is there going to be a season 2, or is that it's just done?
No, it's done.
It's done. I mean, it's been over a decade now, and it's everyone's moved on.
Yeah,
that's a shame. That would have been really nice to see maybe a couple more seasons of that to then finalize it. So that's a shame. But I look forward to seeing starting from the beginning, and then I can let you guys know let you know what I think. But I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm actually kind of excited, so I might start tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you enjoyed the episode. I love Brains. Brains. It's cool. I like the tushy there too. I just think that it's a fun episode that goes off of the normal pattern for the show. I love the joke references to other shows and films and all that. It's just a lot of fun. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of references to ninjas versus samurai, and there's a lot of references to zombie movies. So I think with all of that going on, plus the fact that you're talking about scientists, ninjas, and zombies all being mentioned in the same sentence, you know what I mean? And just that's an amazing thing. But I just think it's a really good episode because it shows there's a few people getting a little bit of the attention in this episode, not just one. So at some points Larmina gets the attention. At some points Vince gets the attention. At some points Pidge gets the attention. There's just it's spread out amongst the team a little bit more in this episode. So I thought that was pretty cool.
This series is totally written by a bunch of nerds. I just want to say.
Exactly.
These guys have been 80s and 90s and the 2000s, and it shows because of all the wonderful references. These are some very well read and well watched writers, because I just was just loving all of it. It was just wonderful to see so many references to old movies that people are like, wait, wasn't that a book? Or you know, and you're going, oh man, people. So it was really nice to see I love the zombie references, because, you know, a lot of people have not seen Night of the Living Dead and some of the classic horror films, which are a lot of the reasons why we have modern day horror films. Is there, I mean, the classic Frankenstein with Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney and the werewolf, and my personal favorite, Dracula. So, you know, it's an excellent episode, and I'll let you guys know when I've finished it or how far I am into it, and let you know my thoughts. But I'm very psyched. I haven't been this psyched since I watched the original Voltron and Vehicle Voltron that I was told to watch, and I'm getting through the Legendary Defender, so that one's a slow. I'm kind of like, after season 2, I'm like, what's the point of watching? Shiro's dead. I'm like, it's hard for me to like keep going. I'm like, he's dead. No.
There's more to come. Quite a bit more.
Yes.
There's more to come, and the team gets stronger. So there's a lot of that. But I love the fact that the team was already strong. They absolutely, you know, trust Keith. He is their leader, and everyone knows their roles, and they know what they can and can't do and where they can fill in. So that part is what I really love about Voltron, is that there's absolute no question. Keith is the leader. He's got it together, and he is steadfast and true. So you never have to question question his judgment whatsoever. So I like seeing this. I like seeing this back in the Force too, because it's clear that they all, once again, look to Keith being the leader, and everyone has their roles. So that's wonderful to see again.
Yep. Good stuff. Love it.
Yep.
And speaking of loving, we loved having you on the podcast, Liz. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Liz.
All the kitties and all the kitties.
So that's going to do it for us for another exciting episode of Let's Voltron, the official Voltron podcast. So thank you for joining us, Liz.
Thank you for having me, guys. It was so much fun. And thank you for introducing me to this amazing new series of recapping of Voltron. And I look forward to giving you my opinion on all of it, probably in the next couple of days, because I'm good at binge watching.
Okay. And we'll see you all next time on
Let's Voltron! Yay!
Let's go!